dear students, and welcome to another session on spectrum. Let's continue with the poem. We finished up to the God and how he makes, or his cruelties are vividly described by Paul Celan. He is a romantic person. He, of course, he is different from that of the prisoners. He lives in a different house. That's what it says. A man in the house. So that line itself tells us that the house here is a reference to a man living in or under normal condition, whereas the prisoners here, on the other hand, they have to undergo a lot of torture. They live in a hell-like condition. You can't even call it a home. You can't even call it a place where a human being can sleep. So they are congested. They are suffocated. So you can't even call it a room, right? So they live in a hell-like situation. So that's why the word house is very clearly uttered here. And the man is introduced. So the man here is a reference to the Nazi guards, okay, and he is an educated person, and he is also a writer who loves. So he's a person who loves literature, and the poet wonders how a person who is in love with literature can ever possibly or can ever become a cruel maniac or like the god. So it looks very ironic, right? We literature students, when we study literature, the best thing, the most important thing, it's not just even the best thing, the most important thing about literature is that it makes us a good human being, right? It civilizes us. It makes us empathize and sympathize with the world. We feel for the sufferings and the woes of the unfortunate. It makes us better human beings day by day as we read, as we analyze poems and novels. The reality, the hardcore reality is brought before us. We become more sober. We become more adjustable, and we accept the others who are not like us, those who are different from us. So that's one power of literature. So as I always say, being a literature student, you should be proud. You must be proud. We are different. We are very much different from the others who study other courses. We are not undermining anybody. We are not saying that other courses are bad. We are just telling that, the basic general attitude of people when they speak about English. Oh, what course have you taken? BA English. Yeah, that's for everybody. No, that's not for everybody. That's for people who are special. It's people like us. Because by the end of the year, we learn the world. We learn what is called human species. We learn a lot of things, of course. We learn to be better human beings, more tolerant people. There is a total change in our life, our way of behavior as such. So Paul Celan, the poet, wonders how a person who loves literature can ever behave like this. We can be so cruel like this. He is educated and he loves German literature. So there's a reference to German literature, high literature, because it was Goethe's Faust. The poem Faust is referred. Margaret is a poor girl who is seduced by this Faust. Faust is a scholar who has sold his soul to the to Satan. I also told you that you will find similar stories. You will find one, the most important one in what you would be learning if you go for your post graduation, you'll definitely study Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe, and it's a similar story where the Dr. Faustus, a scholar, sells his soul to the devil. But the theme is taken differently. Here, the theme is totally taken in a different sense by Sir Paul Celan. Here he uses Margaret, the literary figure Margaret, as a reference to the Nazi woman, the ideal Nazi woman, blue-eyed, blonde hair, beautiful, Aryan, supreme race. Another reference is about the ironic statement, that is Germany and its culture 100 years, it's 100 years before the whole thing that this poem was written. So 100 years of, say 100 years before, the high culture of Germany is contrasted with what the Nazis, with what Hitler has done to Germany as such. Another thing is about this man who loves to write poems, and he becomes a romantic poet at night when he sees the glittering stars. Again, there is also an irony, because these glittering stars, where do they shine? They shine above these concentration camps where men are dying of starvation. So how can one think about a star that rises above this death camp or this concentration camp and feel romantic about it? So it's very, very kind of a psychic kind of a person. That's how Paul Celan refers to this gentleman here, or the god here. Okay, so I presume we did all that, the analysis and all is done. Let's move on to the next set of lines. He writes it and walks from the house. The star glisters. He whistles his dogs up. He whistles his Jews out and orders a grave to be dug in the earth. He commands us strike up for the dance. I think we discussed that also. So he whistles his dog up. So by night he's a romantic poet, in the morning he is this cruel man. He changes overnight, he's a cruel man, and in the morning he gets his dogs up and he brutally treats these people, the prisoners of war. He makes some of them forcibly play the death fugue, that is the music fugue, which is the death fugue, that is the music that gives, reminds them of this thing that would happen to them very soon. And they are digging the grave. They are digging the grave of the ones who will die, or who will be cremated in those large crematoriums, or who will die in these concentration camps, and then they'll have to be buried here. So the ones who are digging also, they know that one day they'll also end up in this grave. So it's a pathetic sight here. And he commands some of them to sing the song and the others to dance. There is an entertainment. So it's like a sadist. He's like a kind of sadist, okay, where he takes enjoyment in seeing the others' pain. Black milk of daybreak, we drink you at night. We drink you in the morning, at noon we drink you at nightfall. Drink you and drink you. A man in the house, he plays with the serpents, he writes. He writes when the night falls to Germany, your golden hair, Margaret, your ashen hair, Shulamith. We are digging a grave in the sky, it's ample to lie there. See, one more thing that I want to tell you is, in the net, when you look at the poem, Death Fugue, you will find several translations. Okay, the one that Calicut University has prescribed to you is by Christopher Middleton. Okay, you will find several translations. You will find different lines also, like ample to lie there is different. Some have used it as crammed, you won't lie crammed, and so many other words are used instead, translations. So this poem is actually a translation. Paul Celan has written in originally it is written in German language, and so this has been translated by Christopher Middleton. So yours is by Christopher Middleton. Okay, so that you have to specify in case you didn't get the textbook. You're supposed to get the textbook because it is available. It's not a new syllabus. It's the old syllabus and it's easily available everywhere. But if you didn't get it, you can Google and get a printout of it. But make sure that it is by Christopher Middleton. All right. Okay. So if you look at the poem again, the next stanza, you see that there is a reference, the lines are repeated. See, the same line that we saw in the first two lines, the first beginning of the poem, is repeated again, right? What is this, you might wonder. Now this is the form called fugue. Fugue is where the main theme of a poem or a musical instrument. I did give you the link to Bash poem, I'm sorry, musical composition. I hope you listen to it. If not, you can just go back and listen to it. You will get an idea of what fugue is. Fugue actually refers to, when it comes to poem literature, it is a reference to the repetition of the main idea or theme of the poem in every line, or in every stanza of the poem. So you find that black milk of daybreak we drink at night is repeated. Now without the nightfall, but the word nightfall is not used. With black milk of daybreak we drink you at night. So here in the beginning it is black mail of daybreak we drink it at nightfall. In the second stanza it is black mail of daybreak we drink you at night. So it's more personal now. It turns to be more personal. And another thing, it is the same repetition also. There is not much difference. Okay, so we drink you in the morning, at noon, we drink you at nightfall. So again, we drink you in the morning, okay, we drink it at noon, in the morning, we drink it at night. Same thing, but it's again twisted and changed. We drink you in the morning, at noon, we drink you at nightfall. Drink you and drink you. So it is drink it and drink it, then change to drink you and drink you. So it has become more personal also. So the tone is becoming more and more intense and more personal. A man in the house, he plays with the serpents, he writes. See the same. A man in the house, he plays with the serpents, he writes. So the same line is repeated. So this is the form called fugue, where the lines are repeated. The main theme is repeated. So we get the theme of the poem is repeated. It's not lines are repeated, the main theme or the idea of the poem is repeated. So the black milk here stands for, what does it stand for? It stands for the horrifying, terrifying, hellish life that they are living in these concentration camps. Instead of nourishing, it's actually poisoning them. Day by day, it's killing them. So the theme is again and again reiterated, and it is stated again and again. So it's a form of fugue. Now the title is also very appropriate because it is speaking about the horrifying crime, the hideous crime that the Nazis committed during this period, the death of millions of Jews. So when Celan brings in this guard and makes him order or forcibly order the prisoners to sing a fugue song, that the musical composition, again he brings an ironic effect to the culture of Germany, which has been tainted, which has been destroyed by these Nazis. okay, by Hitler and his people. And he also makes this the title Death Fugue, so the sound music of death. So we understand that in a more intense manner, right? We can also feel with the Jews how they would have been going through all this pain and sufferings. We can feel that fear, we can feel that hellish, nightmarish life that they would be living. They would be killed any time. See, another thing is the dogs. See, he whistles his dogs up. Again, see, it has a lot to do with history. It has a lot to do with the Holocaust. They had different means of torture. They used to starve them to death. They used to take them to these hospitals as specimens, as what we do on these mice and all. Experiments are done on animals, just like that. They used to take these people to get to do experiments on humans. Okay, in that way they tortured them. I had shown that in one of the videos that we did, like No Men Are Foreign. I told you about a Holocaust survivor on whom an experiment was conducted, which was painful, which left her half paralyzed, but she survived and she was able to tell the world of all these horrifying crimes. Likewise, they used to use these dogs to torture these Jews. So there are many instances here where we'll have to pick out those words. Each word will tell us these crimes these terrible crimes that were inflicted on these Jews. So that's one thing that I want to tell you. So when it goes round and round, see, another thing, fugue. Fugue is a repetition of the same theme again and again in different stanzas. So the poem is not going in a linear motion. Okay, the poem is not going in an order. It comes back round like a circle, right? It moves and moves, revolves and revolves, it comes to the same point again and again. So what happens here is, he tries to tell us that the life of these people, the prisoners, are no different from this circle. That is, their life, their misery is endless. It's like a cycle. It goes on and on and on and on. There is no stopping to this. There is no end to it. And the only end that will put them out of misery is death. And death is the only thing that can put them out of misery. So till then their sufferings will go on. They can never hope for a better future. It will go on. It's like a cycle. So Paul Celan has used this technique beautifully, and indirectly also he is telling us the misery of these people, which goes on like a cycle. Hope it's clear to you. Okay. So now the same thing is again used here, and you will find what his sinister side, that all we had discussed in the beginning, and the ample the sky, it is ample to lie there. I also told you about the several interpretations here. It could mean the Jews telling them, better you die, that's good for you. You can end the suffering here. You are not wanted here. You do not belong to the Aryan race, so you are impure. But you are not wanted. Better you die. That's better for you. That's good for you. That's one implication. That's one interpretation. Another one is the Jews themselves wanting death. They just want to die, so that once they die, they are rid of all these pain and sufferings. Another one, as though they are waiting for death. Another one is, I told you, historical. It's much more historical. It's about the crematoriums, okay, the large crematoriums where they are burnt and their ashes. So that one thing I told you this is all happening where? In the backdrop of the Second World War. The world has not come to know about this hideous crime, this terrible crime till now. Okay, and so in order to burn the evidence, they just burn the body and the ashes are put in the grave. So there Celan refers to this way of burning the bodies in these crematoriums, cremating the bodies, that he tells the sky is your grave. Though there is a grave dug here, the sky is the grave, because your bodies are going to be burnt and you're going to be, these ashes perhaps would be put in this grave along with the other dead bodies if they are not cremated. So there is a reference to both digging the body and putting it in the grave, burying the body in the grave, as well as cremating the bodies. So from that we understand that Paul Celan, what he is writing is from his experience. He must have seen all these things. Several bodies being buried in the graves and several being cremated. So it's a reference to both. Okay, so that is what the second line again reiterates the thing. Now, but you have to look at the last line here. That's when things are slightly different from the first stanza. Look at the new person introduced here. We have the guard here, we have the black milk. It's the same thing in the first stanza and the second stanza. It goes on, and then the problems, their misery, their nightmarish life, all that is explained. The guard and his love for poetry, his love for culture, again the rich culture of Germany versus what is right now. How these Nazis have tainted the rich culture of Germany. All that is mentioned. It's the same thing. But look at the next line. Your ashen hair, Shulamith. We are digging a grave in the sky, it's ample to lie there. So there's a new person introduced. And who is this new person? Shulamith. Who is Shulamith? Shulamith is the name of a princess in the Old Testament. You have in the Old Testament, that is in the Hebrews version, you will find Song of Songs. In the Old Testament, you have Song of Songs. In that section, you will find Shulamith. Shulamith is a very important person because she belongs to the Jewish tradition. An erotic figure, of course, but she belongs to, or she is erotic in the sense she idealizes womanhood here. So here it stands, or she stands like Margaret. She stands as a poor woman seduced by Faust, a scholar, and Shulamith is a princess who is an important part of the Jewish tradition, or she forms a very important part of the Bible also. The Bible in the sense, the Old Testament. And so there is a difference in the way Shulamith is described. Shulamith is described as her hair is different. Her hair is different than Margaret's, from that of Margaret's. Margaret's is blonde hair, whereas Shulamith's is ashen hair, black ashen hair. So the difference here is the word ashen calls to the mind two things. One, the Jews, because they did not have blonde hair. Blonde hair is a reference to the Nazi women, whereas the black or dark haired women were considered, the Jews were different. So the Shulamith with her ashen hair is a reference to the to the Jews. Okay, and her hair is ashen, so that means she is impure, she is different from that of from that of Margaret, who is pure, who's a poor girl. All right, and Margaret, for the god, he looks upon Margaret with sympathy, whereas Shulamith is looked upon as not a good woman, who does not idealize womanhood, or though it stands as a reference to womanhood in general. She's a woman who's impure according to the god. So here again, it's not just hair of the princess that comes to the mind. It also brings that ashen hair, also brings and refers to, look at the word ashen. Ashen, like ash, the color of ash, which is grey or black or whatever. And the word ashen and ash has an indirect reference. Don't you think it has an indirect reference to the dead bodies or the cremated bodies, the burnt bodies of the Jews? So now read that line and see. Your ashen hair, Shulamith, we are digging a grave in the sky. It is ample to lie there. So Shulamith comes there, a reference to the Jews. The Jews, historically, many of the Jews were burnt. They were cremated. The dead bodies, that the ash from these dead bodies, that comes to the mind when we speak of or when the word ashen, your ashen hair, Shulamith. So it's a reference to the dead Jews, or the Jews as such. Shulamith and her ashen hair is a reference to whom? The Jews. Okay, so that's about it. We'll stop here and we shall continue in the next class. So thank you and keep safe.